So, if you were watching this, you already seen the thumbnail. I, the other day, saw this anime series called Devil May Cry. Now, if you don't know what Devil May Cry is... Oh, hold up. My backgrounds can be seen. You can't see that open door. See, this is why we got editing stuff, people. It's basically based off a video game series that came out in the early 2000s. And it is about this guy named Dante. He is... spoiler warning, I'll give it right now before I show the video. But basically, it's about this guy. His name is Dante. And Dante is a abomination. He is half human, half demon. And what does that mean? It means he's a fucking badass who wears a leather jacket and kicks some ass. What I've heard or read about is that it's not directly tied to the video game series, so it's not canon with the game. It's its own thing. Now, this isn't like too off par Netflix. I have seen them do remakes before. Cyberpunk Edge Runners is a good example. Now, I will say this, that Studio Mir, which is a South Korean studio, is renowned for various works like Legend of Korra or Dragon's Blood. You know, depending on that, I was expecting high hopes for this show. Now, I'm not saying I wanted it to be like the new Dantan or whatever. I will say that, as a good thing, a good rule of thumb is the villains. I think the villain for this show is good. The way they did his character, from his story, and to his outright just demeanor, I think is really good. Spoiler alert, if you don't know who the villain is, it is a bunny man. It's a bunny demon person who has a very sad backstory and, wishes to outtake his righteous anger, I would say, throughout the show. And I think that's a really good thing. I think villains need a specific reason to fight back. They're not just mindless drones that do evil for the sake of being evil. That's not a very common thing, and it's not very well written if people do that. So I think that the way that they did this villain was really well. Another thing I'll give scores to is the animation. Sometimes the animation can be really, really good. Now, this is like a two-half one. I have some complaints and some good things to say. There are some really good scenes, especially from episodes 5 up. 5 and 6 are my favorite episodes so far, where the animation really does pick up. I think a lot of the animation budget was put into those specific episodes, and it shows. There are some really pretty scenes. Now, this goes back to, obviously, how the animation cannot be bad. And that's the most common complaint I think I've seen, is that the animation isn't always great. There's some scenes where it kind of pulls a Season 3 of Invincible, where it has some really nice scenes of animation, but then has some really lackluster, almost like polygon-based. And I definitely see that, especially when it comes to their 3D animation. Now, there's only very few shows I've seen pull off 3D animation in a very successful way, or maybe I'm just not a big fan of 3D animation, who knows. But from what I saw from the show, sometimes it seemed a little janky, and it doesn't ruin the show, it just kind of throws you a little bit off. But if you can push past that, I think the majority of the show is really good. I think it has a good story. The character designs, I think is very good. I think the design for the villain was very nice. It's very unique. And I think the design for the main character, Dante, is well done. Especially some of the side characters. The side characters are given their own little special quirks and things that make them unique. And I think that they do that. They do that pretty well. I wouldn't say it's amazing, but it's pretty well. Another good thing I can talk about is the characters themselves, not just the designs. I like Dante. I think many times he is funny. I think many times he's a little cringy, but it kind of, works itself out, because that's like how the character is supposed to act, generally speaking. Same thing with a side character protagonist. I forgot her name. It was, hold up. Yeah, okay. Mary. A lot of you guys don't know. She's the girl she's basically a devil hunter. She works for the government, and she has 2 different colored eyes. That's like how I differentiate her from the rest of the cast, just because of that little special quirk that she has. I like how they do her character. I didn't care for her in the first few episodes, but I didn't care for the first few episodes in general. I think the first few episodes were a bit of a drag, and that'll be my complaint. I think the first few episodes were not good. I think that as far as episodic pacing goes, they were a bit unsure on how to play it, if they should just go fist first deep into this asshole and just talk about the show, or if they should move into it. And that inconsistency in pacing, I think, is what throws me off the first few episodes. I forgot to also say, the intro, amazing. I think it has a great intro. Very similar to the Cyberpunk in terms of how it's animated. But I think the song, the use of rock and roll, not just in the intro, but throughout the entire show, is really good. Recently, I've becoming more fond of rock and roll, and I think that this show really emphasizes the good parts of it. So I will say I do appreciate that. Yeah, so it says right here that the Scout Taylor Compton as Mary, this is who I'm assuming plays her actor. And then there's also the president. I am a big fan of the president. He's a funny character, not very like prime importance, obviously in the show, but he still does have a very like funny moments throughout it. I was half expecting him to like be in danger in a bunker and then just pulls out like an AR-15 and says, "I fight for these stars and stripes." Like if they just did that like as a joke, it would have been perfect. I will say though, another thing that's mentioned throughout it is another complaint that I see is that apparently the show makes fun of political parties, particularly in America. And when I watched it, I didn't really get the sense of that. I don't really know where the complaints are coming from. I think it's humor. For anyone who is a big anime fan, or if you're just a big fan of the Devil May Cry game series, I think it's a good show that you should watch. But in general, I would say this is a solid like 7.5 out of 10. It's a good B plus anime, maybe B tier, but it's not bad. It's not bad at all. And who knows? Maybe it'll be A tier. I heard that they're already talking about making a second season, and maybe this will pick up some more traction. So, anyways, that's about it. Hope you have a good day. See ya.